Hey everyone, I'm Jessica Kramer with MRCTV. Today we're back with Jennifer Lahl, an anti-reproductive technology activist, to discuss the Dave Rubin surrogacy controversy and also what's happening with baby farms in Ukraine. Jennifer, thank you for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you. I wouldn't identify as an active, however you said it, anti-IVF activist. I identify as pro-woman and pro-babies.
Okay.
Pro-maternal health. I like to put it a positive spin. One I'm for versus one I'm against.
I like that. I appreciate that. So we spoke with you actually a while back about the ethics of surrogacy about 2 years ago. There's lots of talk about it right now surrounding the story of Dave Rubin and his gay partner hiring 2 women to carry IVF-conceived babies for them, which includes at least purchasing donor eggs. Can you refresh our memory as to why conservatives should be against surrogacy?
Well, I would think conservatives would be against exploiting women for their eggs and exploiting women for their wombs. I've produced quite a few documentary films. One is Eggsploitation, one is Big Fertility, which, raises all the alarms of why this is really harmful to women's health, women's reproductive health. So I don't understand why conservatives would be celebrating that. I would think the conservatives would want babies and mothers to attach from the minute they're conceived to the minute that mom brings that baby home from the hospital. So I don't understand why conservative people like Chris Rufo and Megyn Kelly and Guy Berenson, or however you say his name, all these people that are just hopping on the congratulations bandwagon, I was just absolutely shocked. Meanwhile, they're outraged about what Disney wants to do to our children, but they're not concerned about the fact that these children will be estranged from their genetic mother and their birth mother for probably the rest of their life.
Oh, absolutely. This is exactly what I wanted to touch on with you. I wanted to ask why you think those on the political right are so eager to congratulate them and not call out the immorality of this, especially since a lot of them preach pro-life and pro-family values. Where's the inconsistency seems very stark.
He's one on their own team, and it's really hard for them to throw stones at their own team. They want to be invited to the parties. They don't want to be shunned from the guest list of the red carpet parties or whatever, it's just, I just say to these conservatives that they've lost all moral credibility, their moral authority, their voice is irrelevant to speak out against, like I said, the example of what Disney, we're outraged about what Disney is doing to children, but nobody on the conservative side of the aisle is outraged by what Dave Rubin is doing to these children.
Yes, and especially since a lot of them are pro-life, can you talk a little bit about with IVF, how so many of these embryos are actually, that they're putting so many embryos into the woman, and a lot of them end up dying, and so a lot of these, or they're being frozen. Can you talk about the pro-life ethic to that?
Yeah, for people that do ascribe to a pro-life sensibility, you just have to look at the CDC data to know how many IVF cycles fail. For every many embryos that are created, how many of them actually end up in a live birth? It's a very small percentage. Why do we have almost over a million, I think now, frozen human embryos, in the United States alone? It's a very pro-life technology. So we create many embryos in hopes that we will have, at the end, we'll finally get a baby. And I think, I don't know this for sure, but when you look at the picture that Rubin and his partner posted, they're babies who are being born of the same egg donor, but being carried to term in different wombs. They have very different birth dates. And I don't know why that is, but we know that a lot of embryos get transferred and they don't implant. So they have to transfer again, and then that one doesn't implant. So there might have just been an issue with, they tried to have their babies born around the same time. But again, I don't know that that is the case. But we do know that it is the case that many embryos that get transferred into a woman's womb don't actually implant and don't end up in a live birth.
Wow, and to think that those babies have the same biological mother but will not be raised with that mother, but by two dads. So Ukraine is obviously in crisis right now, dealing with the Russian invasion, but I'm sure few of our viewers know that as Europe's poorest country, they have the biggest surrogacy industry, and most of their business comes from foreign clients. When COVID hit, travel restrictions prevented the transactions and the pickup of these children to their prospective parents. So can you tell us a little bit about what's happening right now with these baby farms? I've been seeing on Twitter a lot of them are being moved to bomb shelters. We just want to know what's going on over there.
Yeah, like you said, it's the same thing sort of that happened during the pandemic lockdowns, except there wasn't a war going on. But yeah, babies were stranded. We have couples in the United States that have babies born of surrogacy in Ukraine that they can't get to pick up. When we looked at, one woman in the United States had to actually care for the baby that she gave birth to through her surrogacy for a couple in China during the pandemic because they couldn't travel in to get their child. And you have to wonder as a pediatric nurse, we know that those first weeks and months and that first year are so critical to the developmental growth of any newborn baby. They pick up on language cues and smells and cultural cues. And so imagine these babies being cared for by caregivers who don't care for babies like their mothers do. They care for the babies at the, bare minimum. They need to be fed. They need to have their diapers changed, things like that. And then whenever they're finally able to get back to their country of origin, you have to imagine that that's going to have some kind of a harm on that child who's been separated. And then all of a sudden is thrown into a different culture with a different language and different people caring for them now.
Yeah, but also the bonding that probably happens within those first couple weeks. I'm sure there's lots of women, potentially changing their mind and lawsuits developing because of that.
Yeah, and the surrogates in Ukraine, from things that I've read, really don't have a lot of control over their bodies. We like to talk about my body, my choice. These surrogates are told, you have to go here, you have to stay here. We need to keep you here during this war as the war unfolds, because at the end of the day, they're trying to protect that product which is brought in thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So here is a woman who's pregnant, not with her own child, who's basically being told what she has to do and where she has to live and separate from her family.
Yeah, it's horrendous. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about these timely topics in the surrogacy industry. We really appreciate your expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you.